Lonely billionaire. In the bustling city of Eludike, a billionaire named Onika lived a life of wealth and luxury. Onika had everything anyone could dream of: fancy cars, a grand mansion, and more money than he could ever spend. But despite his success, Onika felt a deep emptiness. Every woman who entered his life seemed more interested in his money than in him. Onika had been in several relationships, but none of them lasted. All the women were drawn to his wealth, and he craved something more, a love that would see beyond his fortune and recognize the man he truly was. Desperate to find this kind of love, he devised a bold plan. One evening, after yet another failed relationship, Onika made a decision. He would leave behind his luxurious life and go undercover as a beggar. He wanted to see if someone could love him for who he was, not for what he owned. Onika's parents, Ngozi and Uche, were horrified when they heard about his plan. His mother, Ngozi, a successful businesswoman, and his father, Uche, a prominent politician, both tried to dissuade him. "Onika, this is dangerous. What if someone recognizes you, or worse?" his father warned. But Onika was determined. "I'll be careful," he reassured them. "I'll go to a place where no one knows me." Onika left Eludike and traveled to Umons, a small, quiet city far from the spotlight. There, he dressed in ragged clothes and sat in a wheelchair, pretending to be a crippled beggar. He stationed himself at a street corner with his hand outstretched, whispering, "Please help." Days passed, and no one paid much attention to him. Onika felt more invisible than ever before. He had never experienced such disregard, and it made him reflect on how easily people could overlook the struggles of others. One morning, a young woman named Princess walked by. She was different from the others Onika had seen. Her family was poor, but despite her hardships, Princess always had a smile on her face. Her father, Okoro, worked hard on their small farm just outside the city. As Princess passed Onika's corner, she noticed him. His tired eyes and worn-out appearance offended her heart. She approached him. "Are you okay?" she asked gently. Surprised, Onika replied in a weak voice, "I'm just trying to get by." Princess opened her small purse and handed him a few coins. "It's not much, but I hope it helps." Onika was deeply moved by her kindness. For the first time in years, he felt someone cared for him, not because of his wealth but because they saw him as a person. Princess' heart was heavy as she walked home. When she arrived, she told her father, Okoro, about the beggar she had met. Okoro, a kind man despite his own struggles, listened carefully. "I gave him some money, but he has no place to stay," Princess explained. Okoro, thoughtful and compassionate, said, "No one should be left on the street. Bring him here. We'll find room for him." Princess smiled, grateful for her father's kindness. She hurried back to Onika, offering him a place to stay. Onika was stunned by the offer but accepted with gratitude. He followed Princess to her home, a small but cozy house on the edge of the city. There, Okoro welcomed him warmly, despite their limited means. The house was humble, but Onika felt a sense of comfort he had never experienced before. That night, as he lay on a simple mattress, he realized that maybe, just maybe, he had found what he had been searching for. As days passed, Onika settled into life with Princess and Okoro. They treated him with kindness and care without knowing his true identity. Yet, the guilt of deceiving them weighed heavily on him. They had so little, yet they shared everything with him, believing he was a poor and helpless beggar. Onika enjoyed the simple conversations with Princess. She was intelligent, funny, and compassionate. He found himself smiling more than he had in years, but the weight of his lie loomed over him. One evening, as they sat together, Princess asked Onika, "You seem sad sometimes. Is there something you're not telling us?" Onika struggled with the guilt of his deception. He wanted to tell her everything, but he was afraid of losing the connection they had built. Before he could respond, news reached the city that Onika's parents, back in Eludike, were growing increasingly worried. They hadn't heard from their son in weeks. Ngozi, especially, was beside herself with worry, praying for his safety every night. Over the following weeks, Onika grew closer to Princess and Okoro. Their kindness and generosity had touched his heart in a way that his wealth never could. He often helped Princess on the farm, and they spent hours talking and laughing together. But the guilt gnawed at him. How could he continue to live a lie when this family had given him so much? One day, as Princess sold produce at the local market, a wealthy young man named Chidi approached her. Chidi had been trying to win Princess' affection for months, but she had always politely declined. Chidi grew frustrated, unable to understand why Princess would choose a life of poverty when he could offer her wealth and luxury. Little did he know, Princess' heart was already leaning towards Onika. Nkechi, Princess' best friend, had always been envious of her. When Chidi approached Nkechi with a plan to win Princess over, she jumped at the chance to undermine her friend. Nkechi believed that if Chidi married Princess, it would elevate her own status. But when Nkechi learned that Princess had feelings for Onika, the beggar, she was outraged. How could Princess fall for someone so poor? Driven by jealousy, Nkechi decided to spread rumors about Onika, setting off a chain of events that would force the truth to come out. Nkechi wasted no time in spreading rumors about Onika. She told anyone who would listen that the beggar Princess had taken into her home was not who he seemed. There's something off about him, she would say. I wouldn't trust him. Soon, whispers filled the marketplace, and the people of humans began to wonder who Onika truly was. The rumors reached Okoro, who was disturbed by what he was hearing. He trusted his daughter's judgment, but the constant gossip made him question whether they were doing the right thing by helping Onika. Chidi, who had been trying to win Princess' heart, was furious when he heard that she was spending time with Onika. He couldn't understand why Princess would choose a beggar over him, a wealthy man who could give her everything. One evening, Chidi confronted Princess at the market. Why are you wasting your time with that beggar? He demanded. You could live a better life with me. I can give you anything you want. Princess, calm as always, looked Chidi in the eye and said, it's not about what you can give me. It's about who you are. Her words stung Chidi, but he was determined to win her over, no matter what it took. The rumors about Onika grew louder, and Okoro couldn't ignore them any longer. One evening, he sat Onika down and asked him directly, who are you really? The people are talking, and I need to know the truth. Onika felt a lump in his throat. He knew the time had come to confess. With a deep breath, he revealed everything. I'm not a beggar, he began. I'm Onika, the son of Uche and Ngozi from Eludike. I came here because I wanted to find someone who would love me for who I am, not for my money. Okoro sat in silence, processing the truth. He had trusted Onika, welcomed him into his home, and now he felt betrayed. Without a word, he stood up and left the room, leaving Onika alone with his guilt. Princess overheard the conversation between her father and Onika. Her heart sank as the truth unfolded. She had grown close to Onika, and now she felt the sting of his deception. She couldn't believe that the man she had begun to care for had been lying to her all along. Later that night, Princess confronted Onika. Why didn't you tell me the truth? She demanded, her voice trembling with hurt. I was afraid, Onika admitted. I thought if you knew who I really was, you wouldn't treat me the same. I didn't want you to love me for my money. Princess shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes. You didn't give me a chance to love you for who you are. You built this entire relationship on a lie. The atmosphere in the house grew tense. Okoro and Princess were both deeply hurt by Onika's deception. They had welcomed him into their lives, only to find out that he had been living a lie. Okoro, usually a forgiving man, struggled to accept what Onika had done. "You took advantage of our kindness," he said one evening, his voice heavy with disappointment. Onika tried to explain, but the damage had already been done. Princess avoided him, and the once warm home felt cold and distant. Back in Eludike, Onika's parents were still worried about their son. They had tried to contact him, but he hadn't answered. Uche, growing impatient, decided to send someone to Yumons to find out what had happened to him. They couldn't bear the thought of losing their only child. Meanwhile, Onika faced an internal struggle. He had come to Yumons searching for real love, but now he had destroyed the trust of the only people who had shown him genuine care. He didn't know how to fix the mess he had created. After days of reflection, Princess made a difficult decision. She still cared for Onika, but the betrayal was too much for her to bear. She couldn't continue their relationship, knowing that he had lied to her from the beginning. One evening, she sat Onika down and said, "I think it's best if you leave. I need time to figure out how I feel about everything. Right now, I can't trust you." Onika, devastated, knew there was nothing he could say to change her mind. He had hurt her too deeply, and now he had to face the consequences of his actions. As Onika prepared to leave, he couldn't help but feel a sense of loss. He had grown to love Princess and her father, and now it seemed like he had lost them forever. Desperate to make things right, he approached Princess one last time. "I know I've hurt you, and I don't expect you to forgive me right away," Onika said, his voice full of regret. "But I love you, Princess. I came here to find real love, and I found it with you. Please don't push me away." Princess looked at him, her heart conflicted. She still cared for Onika, but the wound of his deception was fresh. "I need time," she replied softly. "If you truly love me, you'll give me the space I need to heal." With a heavy heart, Onika left Yumons and returned to Eludike. When he arrived, his mother was the first to greet him, wrapping him in a tight embrace. "Thank God you're safe," she whispered, tears in her eyes. His father, Uche, was less forgiving. "What were you thinking?" he demanded. "Disappearing without a word, living like a beggar. You've disgraced this family." Onika knew he had to face his family's disappointment, but all he could think about was Princess. He couldn't shake the feeling that he had left something precious behind. Back in Yumons, Chidi, who had been trying to win Princess over, heard about Onika's departure. He saw this as his chance to finally get closer to her. However, instead of being happy, he felt conflicted. He had never seen Princess so heartbroken before. One day, Chidi approached Princess at the market. "I know I've tried to win you over," he said, "but I see how much Onika means to you. If you care about him, don't let him leave without knowing how you feel." Princess was surprised by Chidi's change of heart. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked. Chidi shrugged, a hint of sadness in his eyes. "Because I realize now that love isn't about winning. It's about caring for someone enough to want what's best for them even if it's not me." Encouraged by Chidi's words, Princess made a decision. She wasn't ready to let go of Onika. She gathered her courage and traveled to Eludike, determined to see him again. When she arrived at his mansion, she was overwhelmed by the grandeur of it all. This was the life Onika had left behind to find love. Standing at the gates, Princess took a deep breath and asked the guards to let her in. She wasn't sure what she would say to Onika, but she knew she had to see him. Onika was shocked when the guards informed him that Princess was at the gate. He rushed outside, his heart racing. When he saw her standing there, looking as beautiful as ever, he felt a rush of emotions, guilt, regret, but also hope. "I'm sorry," Onika said as soon as they were face to face. "I should never have lied to you. I didn't know how to show you the real me. Princess looked at him for a long moment before speaking. I'm not here to dwell on the past, she said softly. I came because I care about you, Onika. I needed time to think, and now I realize that I don't want to lose you. The two stood there, the tension between them slowly fading as they shared an understanding. Onika couldn't believe that after everything, Princess was willing to give him another chance. I know I have a lot to make up for, Onika said, his voice sincere. But I promise I never lie to you again. I want to build something real with you, no more secrets. Princess smiled softly. Let's start over, then. From the beginning. No lies, no pretense, just us. With that, Onika and Princess decided to move forward together, leaving the past behind and embracing a future filled with honesty, trust, and love. I hope you enjoyed the tale. If so, please like the video, comment, share it with your family and friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell for more enchanting tales like this one. Goodbye.